Hey guys, welcome to the Something About Tuesdays podcast. I'm your host, Phebe Joi. Join me every other Tuesday for a lighthearted podcast to keep you company while you do your thing. Hey guys, welcome back to Something About Tuesdays, episode 46. I'm your host, Phebe Joi, and hi, hey, and welcome. And Merry Christmas. Today, when this comes out, it'll be the Tuesday before Christmas. For me, I'm recording it the Saturday before, but hey, it's the whole season, so Merry Christmas. And if you listen to it, I guess right now, you might be listening to this actually either on Christmas or after Christmas. So whenever you are choosing to listen to this, either, hey, Christmas is tomorrow, or hope you had a great Christmas. however it applies to you, it's the Christmas season. And it's been a good one. It's been a good one overall. I will say, so just throwing out Christmas shopping, and I think I talked about this last time, I'm pretty sure, because I'm one of those who, for the most part, I'm a procrastinator when it comes to Christmas shopping. It takes me forever to give people my list, which is terrible. People being my parents, my mom, sister, my husband. I'm just like, I don't know what I want. And even though I might get their list, it takes me forever to buy it. But I think I did a little bit better because I think this season I ordered a lot of things. Luckily, a lot of things that were asked for were things I could get online. So I did order quite a few things online. And same for me. I was like, just get me this thing off Amazon or whatever. And so that's pretty good. But this year, you guys, I did go into Kohl's to get the hubs some shirts. I can say that. He doesn't listen. But if he does listen, it definitely won't be before Christmas. So I did go to Kohl's to get Dad some shirts. But I think everything else, not Dad, I'm sorry, my husband some shirts, but I think everything else I got online, which is pretty crazy. And to think about how different how it has changed over the years, because I know I was that person for a while that, the day before Christmas, yes, Christmas Eve, I would be out shopping in the malls, going to the different stores, and it would be an all-day affair. And I didn't mind it. I was like, this is the season. Like, it was crowded, but I didn't care. I was like, yes, this is it. We're all shopping, and I was so excited. These days, I don't have the energy. I don't have the time or energy. I have the time, but I give it to other things. I don't want to go out and just look for things. I'll admit, I do, if I get to it early enough. So if I don't wait until there's tons of people, then I do enjoy going out and buying things, like looking just to see, getting things that aren't necessarily on people's list, but I think they'll like. But it's just, like I said, my procrastinator brain doesn't want to start that until it's close to Christmas. And then once it gets close to Christmas, there's so many people out and it's not near as fun. So that's my conundrum that I run into. But actually, I do enjoy Christmas shopping. And again, I am one of those people who, it's terrible as it is, I'm like, oop, something for you. Oop, something for me. Oop, something for you. I think what it is like, if I've saved up for Christmas and then I'm like, oh, if I'm just going to spend this money anyway, I might as well go ahead and get that one thing I wanted as well. It's only, $30. Let me just go ahead and throw that in there. And so I'll admit, I've also bought stuff for myself this year. Of course, and it will be wrapped and labeled from Santa. No, I'm just kidding. I think I did that last year. I do that some years. I will wrap up something I bought myself and say it's from Santa and be like, oh, look, a gift. But this year, I think I just bought stuff and just went ahead and went in on it, either wore it or used it in some way. But yeah, so if you're still out Christmas shopping, because this does come out technically Christmas Eve, okay, kudos to you. Shout out to you for being out there with all the tons of people and going through it. I hope you find everything that you're looking for today. And if not, maybe just something good that'll make you feel good at least, because I've done that before. I've gone shopping and it has been a bust. But then I'll get me my little chai latte and I'm like, you know what? But at least I was out here and got to sip on one of my favorite drinks. So there is that. But yeah, so it's the Christmas season. One thing I did that I thought, and I'm like, you know what? I don't know why I just felt like going outside of the norm. But when you go, I went to Walmart today, and when you go to most stores like at any store that you just frequent, you kind of park in the same place. I feel like most of the time. Occasionally you may park somewhere different. Today, on a whim, I don't know why, I decided to park in the parking lot, the Walmart parking lot that's on the side. You guys know what I'm talking about? Like, there's the regular parking lot that's in front of Walmart, but then there's like this side lot that's just on the side of it, and you have to kind of walk to the front that way. And I was like, you know what? It might be quicker for me to park on the side and get to the front than it is to like park in the very far back in the regular parking lot to walk up. And so I did, and I kind of enjoyed it. It felt not risky, but it felt really cool. Like I was like, oh, look at me doing something different. I'm a side Walmart parker. Like I very rarely, I have before, but rarely do I ever park on the side of like any, like a Walmart or a Kroger or anything. I usually just park in the regular parking lot that everybody else parks in. And so I was like, oh, look at me being different. And I felt different and I felt cool. And yeah, so I thought I would throw that out there, that if you are shopping and you're like, my regular parking spot's taken, try the side lots. Those are kind of interesting. But yeah, like I said, it just shook things up. Yeah, I mean, if you really want to shake things up, park where you're not used to, and you walk out and you're like, now where did I park again? But so I did that today, last minute Walmart things. But I wanted to tell you guys. So I think last episode I mentioned that on my December list, I wanted to have a Christmas treats day, which consisted of me cooking a bunch or baking or putting together, depending on what it is, a bunch of different Christmas treats that I find on Pinterest or online or anything. And that was just sort of kind of just an idea, but just an idea on my list. Well, for the last week or so, I have been actively working on preparing for this Christmas treats day. I'll have to let y'all know how it goes because it is scheduled for Monday. Yes, I've scheduled it for Monday. So yesterday was my last day of school, and I didn't want to do my Christmas treats day today on Saturday because I'm still kind of like gearing up for, I don't know, it would be way too soon, right? But I had to do it sometime before Christmas because it's Christmas treats day. Like, I feel like I can't do it after Christmas, which you guys, pause here. The one thing I don't mind working up until Christmas per se, because we do get more time in January. But when I work up till like just a few days before Christmas, man, I really feel like I didn't get the time that I wanted with Christmas decor and the Christmas spirit and Christmas everything. Now I did decorate, I think earlier than normal this year. So that was pretty good, especially considering I've been tired and not really motivated to decorate. It hits me in spurts. And when those spurts come, I just go for it. Cause I'm like, I don't know when I'm going to be motivated to do this again. So here we are. Kind of like last night. I was like, okay, I need to start wrapping some of these gifts that I've gotten. I've got 10 million Amazon packages in my room. I need to actually go through them and start wrapping things and see what I have for people. And so I did that last night, and I didn't start till like 9 o'clock or something. And I didn't finish until 1. Not because I have so many gifts, but because I'm such a terrible wrapper, and then I get distracted, and then yeah, it takes me some time. And then you guys, I was in the middle of wrapping, and I had to pause and be like, you're a bad rapper when. And what it was I was trying to wrap this box, and for whatever reason, I couldn't quite get the paper to stay. So you're a bad rapper when you use your foot. I had a sock on, my lovely little sock. But when you use your foot to hold down the paper while you tear off the tape, I guess the solution to that is to already have your tape tore or something like that. But I didn't have my tape torn, and so I needed to hold down the paper. And so I used my foot to hold down the paper while I tore the tape off, so that way I could put it on there. You guys, I know it's terrible. I was like, man, I am not good at this. This is not meant for me. But I was able to do that last night. Like I said, finished at like 1 a.m. So I got my wrapping done and everything. And again, like I said, you got to do stuff when you're motivated. And that's when I felt motivated enough to do that. But anyway, so back to, look, how did I even get to there? So back to my Christmas treats day. So I had been looking up different recipes and different treats to try to make for Monday. Oh yeah, I was saying I didn't have a lot of my time in between. So yes, that part does stink. So I have scheduled that for Monday. And so I've Pinterested ideas and Googled ideas, and you all, I made a Google Doc, and on the first page is pictures. I took pictures and from online, and I labeled the different things that I wanted to try to make. And within that, I created categories: things to bake, like the cookies; things that you just kind of have to put together, or that are no bake, kind of like the pretzel Rolo thing. If you guys know what I'm talking about, like that's not something I have to bake, but I got to put it together. And then my Christmas charcuterie board, I went ahead and was like, okay, what do I want on there? So I planned that. And then my Christmas foods, like treats, I wanted to make the spinach tree thing, which if you've ever looked up any type of Pinterest Christmas ideas, I am sure that popped up on your board, so you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, so I looked up all of those. I printed all those recipes. You guys, I've got like 15 recipes of things that I've printed. And my goal is to make it all on Monday, except the charcuterie board. I think I'm saving that for Christmas Day. But that's my plan. And so then I was like, okay, I'm baking like 4 different cookies and making these different things. So I said, I got to figure out how to, what I need to make together, like make the doughs at this time. These specific treats require 350 degrees. These require 400. So I'm going to plan to cook those together and put this together. You guys, I have put some time and effort into this. I hope this works out. As someone who is not a cook or chef or anything like that, I really do hope that my treats day works out. But anyway, and if it does, I'll have to take some pictures and put it on Instagram or something. So I have all that ready. So in the last week, I've been adding things to our Kroger list, which we get Kroger delivery, and which is nice but terrible at the same time because, you know how they say don't shop when you're hungry, or even how sometimes they say, the bigger your cart shopping, the more you get. Well, when you're shopping online, your cart's endless. You don't know how much you're getting until you got all in there. And next thing you know, like, how did I spend $300 on stuff to make treats? And so I've been adding things to our Kroger app. And what's funny is I have realized now that I have no idea where my Kroger app is on my phone, because whenever I go to find it, I just put it in the search and just type in Kroger, because I don't know where I've put it. I don't know under what file or what folder or anything like that. And that made me laugh. I'm like, wow, okay. I'm sure I'm not the only one though, right? Who has an app that you don't know where it is. You just have to search for it every time and have it pop up that way. So that's me with the Kroger app. So I've been putting things in there, and all the stuff came in, I think yesterday, and Hubs put it all away, and he was like, I don't know how that was $300 worth of stuff. Like, it didn't seem like that much. How did you spend that much? And it still didn't seem like a lot. And he was like, you didn't even buy any meat. So how did you spend that much? I was like, I don't know. But one thing I've noticed when looking at these recipes is I feel like they all need the same thing. And I'm like, if the main ingredient for like 4 different desserts are butter, cream cheese, brown sugar, regular sugar, a pinch of salt, and maybe flour, I'm like, how does that make 4 different kinds of desserts? Because I feel like they all have the same ingredients, but somehow make something different. Anywho, so I'm very excited about my Christmas treats day. I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to spending the day baking. I plan to, in the background, either have like a Christmas movie or Christmas music going on as I bake. And I want the house to smell Christmassy and to look Christmassy while I do that. And just, I think I just want to do that. I want to enjoy that and see how that is. So I'll have to let y'all know how it goes. And yeah, see if I actually made it happen, which I will. We bought all the stuff, so I better make it happen. Y'all, I've got stuff I plan on making Oreo balls, and I plan on making peanut butter cookies, sugar cookies, chocolate chip cookies, and no-bake cookies. And then I plan on making Oreo balls, and I plan on making some type of dip. And then I was like, I need something. Those are my like sweets, but I also want, and then I plan to make this caramel crunch something with crackers. I don't know, but it looked good. And I've had it before, I think, from other people, so I plan on making that as well. And then I plan to make, that's on the sweet side, but on the other side, like, plan on making, like, chicken buffalo dip. And then I plan on making, oh no, actually, Velveeta cheese, like the Velveeta cheese Italian sausage dip thing. And then making this buffalo, these little finely wrapped, almost like flautas, the like little tortilla wrapped chicken things, but chicken buffalo flavored ones. They're appetizers. And then I'm going to make this crab dip that looked so good in a bread bowl. So I do plan to make that. And then I plan to make the spinach tree thingamajiggy. So yes, I know you're like, you're really okay. Yes, I'm gonna try. We will see. Again, like I said, if it works out well, I'll take pictures. If it works out terribly, I'll take pictures and I'll try to put it on Instagram and show you guys my lovely Christmas treats day that hopefully will go well on Monday. So anywho, this is the season. It has been cold. Believe it or not, we've had a couple of snow days, not like snow days from school, but a couple of days where it snowed a little bit, more like flurry days. And while it wasn't enough to necessarily stick on the ground, one thing I do like to look at is the snow on the rooftops. I was driving to work and, like I said, I live out in like the boondocks. And so when it snows out there, it's usually very pretty, but it didn't snow like enough to really, cover the ground or anything like that. But the rooftops were really pretty when I was passing by people's houses and things. And I was like, man, I do like snow on rooftops like that. So if you have a snow day and it's not really enough to stick, look up, look at the rooftops. And those would be, I think, those are pretty too. I like the way those look. With that, I'm telling you, I have a bit to talk about when it comes to Christmas. So this past week, the past 2 weeks at school, we've had themed days, just because why not? And this week have been like our Christmas kind of themed days. So like Monday was, I think, Ugly Sweater Day, which y'all, you remember how I said I planned to buy a Christmas sweater? I have not bought one yet. No, I did. I bought one, but it ended up not really being sweater material. I bought it online, and so I returned it. So I can't say that I didn't buy it, but I didn't buy one to keep. So I think I still want to look for one. Even though I only have a few more days before Christmas. So anyway, so the first day was Ugly Sweater Day, and that was fun. The second day, we dressed up. What was the school? It was Elf Day. Yeah, we had to dress up like an elf, and I had a little elf dress that I got from Walmart years ago. Most of the stuff I bought years ago, and then I wear the same thing every year. So we had Elf Day on Tuesday, and this is the fun stuff with school, right? Like the kids get a kick out of it. I love seeing them in their outfits. It's so much fun. Wednesday was the Grinch Day. And so I had a Grinch shirt that I borrowed from my sister. Same one I borrow every year. One of my coworkers, she painted her face like the Grinch. One of the kids painted his face like the Grinch, and they took a picture together. Way too cute. And then most people go for the Grinch side, but a few people go for like the Whoville people side, and they do the hair. And yeah, they try to do like the hair. The girls, do their hair up top and things. And one of the kiddos did that, or a couple of the kiddos did that, and they look so super cute, being like Cindy Lou Who's, I think is her name. So that was fun. That was Grinch Day. And then Thursday, we just had Red and Green Day, which, once you get a few days in trying to wear red and green, like Elf Day is very similar to Grinch Day, which is very similar to Red and Green Day. You're kind of running out of options. So I just had on a red sweater and then just black everything else. So I didn't really look kind of Christmassy, but, hey, it was a red sweater at least. And then Friday, the best day, of course, is Pajama Day. And normally I wear, just a cute pajama top and, a regular skirt and some cute little leggings that match the top. This year, I wore, you guys know those big hoodie, snuggy looking things, like, they go like to like mid shin, and it's like a big hoodie, and you can put the hood on and it covers you. The arms are huge. It's like a blanket hoodie. I wore that thing, and oh my gosh, the kids got a kick out of it. They loved it so much. And even the teachers, they were like, that looks so cozy. And let me tell you, it was very cozy enough that there was a few times I was quite hot and was like, oh my goodness, I don't know if I can do this all day. But that was pretty fun, wearing that and enjoying things like that. And so I have to say, it made me think like, okay, I love this idea for school. But I'm like, maybe I want to do like family themed days. Like one day when when I have children, maybe we'll do like, okay, you guys, like the Monday before Christmas, let's pretend, like, let's say this year, Monday's on Monday, Christmas is on Wednesday. Then I'll be like, on Monday, we're all going to wear red, or we're all going to wear green, or on Christmas Eve, all going to wear our pajamas, things like that. Like, that's fun. Like, having, I guess, group things to wear is kind of fun. And honestly, it made it very easy to get ready for work this morning, because it was like, okay, I know I got to find something red. I know I got to find something green. I know I got to whip this out. But I think that would be fun to do, not just, in a school way, but also with like family. Like, that might be something I might try to start. Like, okay, as a family, we're all going to wear our ugly sweaters on this day. And this might be something you're thinking like, well, duh, Phoebe, like our family always does this. Okay, yes. But I think it would be, I don't know, an idea. I might have to be like, hey, Mom, what you think about this idea? And yeah, and try it out, because I think that would be pretty fun and help get you in the Christmas spirit, I would probably say. So yeah, it has been, like I said, a good last couple of weeks. It's been fun trying to like think about, Christmas and the season, the reason for the season. And of course, gift giving is fun and stressful, if you have to buy the gifts. But it's also just, it's a warm, cozy season. Busy and hectic at the same time, but also warm and cozy once it slows down. And it's also a great season to show love to people who are hurting, or even not just to those who are hurting, but to the vulnerable. And I say this not just as a person who has been hurting, but at school, there was a couple instances where I was like, oh my, like, we usually see, most of the time this season, any holiday is seen in a very positive light. Christmas it's the time where we celebrate Jesus and his birth. And even though we know he wasn't born on Christmas Day, it's the time where we do celebrate it. So at school, we have a lot of family events this past week, just because it's the end of the semester. Kids are wrapping up what they've learned, assessments are being done, projects are being completed, and it's a good time to invite families in to just celebrate with their children, whether it's related to Christmas or not, right? And so this week, I work mostly with kindergarten and first grade. And this week, our first graders had a family event where they could showcase how they've learned about different holidays from around the world around this time. And anytime you have a family event, one, I just love it, because I love seeing the families come in. They're so proud of their kids. Not often do family get a chance to, come see what their kids are doing in the school, and, to just see their environment and see, where the kids are learning, how they're learning, meet their teachers, meet their friends, things like that. And so I think family events are awesome. But with that, you do have the kids whose parents or family do not come. And I remember there's 3 first grade classrooms, and Thursday was the event. So I went down to help. In the very first classroom I went into, there was already like kids tearing up, right? Those whose parents didn't come, either they couldn't come or they thought they would be coming and they ended up not being able to come, and they were tearing up. And so, of course, as an adult, as any adult would do, you go to those kids, you comfort those kids. You're like, oh, here, why don't you show me what you did? Show me what you did. I'd love to see it. And so I was able to do that, and we got a couple of smiles from that. And I went to another room, and you guys, so I walk in, and there's one little guy. He's one of the kids that I actually work with every day. He's in one of my groups that I pull. And he was sitting there with the most dejected look on his face. Eyes teary. He wasn't crying, but eyes were teary. And so I gave him a hug. I put my arm around him. And y'all, he leaned right into me and he didn't cry, but but you could tell, like, the tear, I just leaned in, and you guys, I just pat him on the back and was like, tell me about your thing. And he just didn't want to talk or say anything. But just the hug, like, you could tell it was a hug that he needed. And his teacher, she had given him some love too, but she had a few kids she was working with that she was trying to comfort. And so just giving him that hug and being like, here, let me see your things, and him going through it. And then, there's another teacher I know who would love to see that. I bet you he would enjoy that. And you want me to go get him? And he was like, yeah. And so, hey, the male teachers are very important out there, by the way. And I think it really helped for that young man for me to go get Mr. Cox, that's his name. And so he came down and was able to talk to him and be like, oh, you can show me what you got. And so they were able to do that. And it just, having other teachers come in and adults come in to kind of touch those little hurting hearts, it was precious. But another opportunity was, and like I said, this wasn't necessarily related to Christmas itself, but in this season, when you see people hurting, I think we're a little more cognizant of it. Like, we're more aware that someone is hurting, because it is such a season where people should quote unquote be happy. And so when they aren't, or when you notice they're a little off or a little down, I think it's a little more noticeable. And so therefore a little easier to give some love, because we actually see it and we're like, okay, well, let me do something. And another opportunity that I was leaving I think it was the same day, maybe the next. And I was leaving the building, and we have a group that stays after school for some tutoring. And the little guy, he was in a corner beside the building, just away from everybody, tearing up. Another student I had him back in second grade, and I believe he's a fourth grader now. And I was like, hey, what's going on? And he told me about the situation, and I was like, aw. And I just so happened to have candy in my bag because, hey, it's the season for it. And so I get out a piece of candy. I was like, hey, you want this? And he was like, yeah. And he took it, and he was able to cheer up a little bit. And I was like, oh, like that's what this season's about, right? Like going towards those who are hurting, or even if they're not hurting, just the vulnerable, like the children or those who don't have enough. This is the season for that. And so just those two little encounters, just made me think about, like, man, I do got to look around at the people beside me and see where, when can I help? How can I help? Maybe not walk past the Salvation Army people all the time and just say hi. Maybe actually put something in there, or maybe go donate more to the Goodwill, or maybe, go volunteer my time. Or even if you just don't do, like, intentionally do those things, just be aware for those, like I said, who are around you, who are already in your circle or in your sphere, that maybe you can just put a little smile on their face, especially the little ones, because I think their emotions are so heightened during the season in a good or bad way. Like, the littlest thing can make them happy, and the littlest thing can make them sad. So that means you can do something very little, and it could probably just make someone's day. So it's been a good season for that. And it's been a good season to try to, look and see how can I help other people, and honestly be, the hands and feet of God, his whole purpose, right, for coming to earth in the first place, but to love on people. So that's been kind of my ideas and thoughts around Christmas. But that's not all the last couple of weeks have entailed. For example, I was able to do my Bible study day number 2. I did. And I picked a new coffee shop. I did not go to Barnes & Noble. I had thought about it. I was like, if I can't think of anything else, I'll go to Barnes & Noble. But this time I decided to go to this coffee shop called Quills. And we have a couple of them in our city, but this one, I think it's relatively new. I mean, like maybe in the last year or so, they opened up a new one near me. And I was like, okay, well, let me go to this coffee shop place. And so I did go, and it was nice. I got my chai latte there, and it was pretty good. It wasn't the sweetest and best that I've had, but it was definitely better than the one I had at Starbucks at my last Bible study day. So I went there and I got that, and they have like their regular floor that looks like a regular coffee shop, but then they have these stairs on the side that when you go up, there's kind of like a loft area with more seating. And so I said, ooh, I want to go up there. And I did. And it's so cool up there because you can just see the whole coffee shop. It's very open. And it was fun. And okay, so the things that I noticed though, one, the music is quite loud. It was louder than at Barnes & Noble. And I think sitting at the top, it was even louder. I don't know if we were just near the speakers or whatever. So it was definitely loud. And I had my headphones. I still had my AirPods again, which helped. But to block out the music, I had to turn my headphones up pretty loud, which was okay. Like, it wasn't terrible having to do that, but it did in some sense. I was like, oh, sometimes having to have loud music or something in the background can distract me from what I'm trying to focus on. But so that was that. And the other thing was they had backless, low back chairs. I won't say backless because they weren't stools, but really low back chairs, like the ones that kind of maybe come up 2 inches. So there's like a little curve up. So like a stool, but just with the lower back, right? And y'all, I had to get used to that because I kept wanting to lean back and then remembering, oh, nothing's there. I did that the first few times, and then I was like, okay, I think I can figure it out. I'll just have to lean forward and lean on my elbows a little bit. But surprisingly, it really wasn't too uncomfortable for as I thought it probably would have been, but it really wasn't. And then while I was there, they didn't have a lot of food options, but they did have a big old chocolate chip cookie and this banana oat muffin. And y'all, I was like, I don't know which one I want, but the one I went with the banana oat muffin because it looked really big and it looked nice and cinnamony and crispy. Like it had, I don't know, it just looked good. And the chocolate chip cookies looked good too, but they looked a little hard. And I wasn't sure that they would be able to warm it up for me enough. So I did get the banana oat muffin and I did ask her to warm it up and she did good. It was warm perfectly. It was warm all the way through, but it wasn't too hot. But like I said, warm all the way through, right? Not just on the surface or barely warm. And so it was very good, soft, delicious banana muffin. And so I did that. I had that and I was taking my notes, kind of similar, same style as last time. I noticed that the more intense that I would get in my writing, the more hunched over I would get because I try for the most part to be aware of, how I look, how I present myself in public, right? Like I don't want to look like a wild woman. And but I did notice there were times where I was like very hunched over, just scribbling on the paper, just writing, trying to write very fast because I'm trying to get those intense thoughts like, oh, okay, here, I'm gonna think about this. And the next thing I know, I'm just writing and really intense and, looking elegant writing, where you're sitting up and your hand you have the nice, like the proper way of holding your pencil and you're just, writing each word neatly. Like that happened for like a couple of times, but for the most part, whenever, like I said, it got intense, it was like terrible way of holding the pencil and then just like zoomed in, like my eyes are like right next to the paper as if I couldn't see it if I was leaned up, but for whatever reason, it's kind of like when you turn down your music so you can see better in the car. Same thing. You get super, super close to the pencil and the paper just so you can think better. I have no idea. But anyway, so I found myself doing that a few times and again, and it was enjoyable. And I did feel like I got a little something out of it. Something that had I not, the way I think of it is like, if I hadn't gone looking for it, right? If I hadn't gone to read my Bible and to maybe search for what God had for me, then I don't think I would have got it. And so like I said, I did enjoy my Bible study day. I think I will continue again, like I said, this next year, hopefully once a month, each month, keeping it light, right? I don't want to go too hard again. I think this time I lasted maybe an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. I might have hit 2 hours. I'm not exactly sure because I can't remember exactly what time I started and finished, but I do know I think I at least hit the hour and a half mark. But again, I don't want to put time limits on it because then I'll get stressed. If I only do 45 minutes, does that mean I wasn't as spiritual this time? And sometimes we put those expectations on ourselves when they don't need to be there. But yeah, so I definitely enjoyed my Bible study day 2. But speaking of notes, I have an iPad. It's an old one. I think it's like iPad 8 or something from a few years ago. And a friend of mine recently introduced me to an app called Free Notes. And you guys, that is a fun app for taking notes. I take notes on my phone a lot, like in the Notes app. That's where most of my notes go. I've got a million that date back to 2009. 2009 is my oldest note. Very old. But in my iPad, so I don't take notes on my iPad. I had an Apple Pencil, or my husband had a couple Apple Pencils that we've had for a long time that I've never used. But this time I found a reason to use it. So if you get the free notes, it's like having a notepad on your iPad, which you're like, well, duh, Phoebe, that's what notes are. But you can create these little notebooks And you can pick like your cover. You can customize your cover. Like you could use a photo that's on your iPad to be the cover of your notebook. So you can have these different notebooks all saved in this app. And you can open it up and you can choose to have it, lined paper, regular blank paper, graphic paper, different size lined paper. And then you can choose your different type of pens. Like, I know you guys are like, well, duh. I know, but you guys, it opened my world that now I want to start taking notes on my iPad. So I started doing that. I got the pen and I started taking notes on my iPad. And then I realized, oh my goodness, I cannot stand the sound of the Apple Pen on the iPad, because every time you hit it, it's like tick, 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 tick. And I'm like, I can't do it to myself, and I can't do it to those around me, because I thought, oh, maybe I can start taking my iPad with me on my Bible study day and take notes on there and kind of keep them, why not keep digital notes, right? You could share it across platforms or across devices and things like that. So why not? Now, I definitely still have pen and paper, but, maybe there are sometimes I want to use my iPad more, so, but you guys, I could not stand the click, click, click of the click, click, click stuff. Like it was driving me nuts. So I found a solution. First, I was like, okay, people were looking up or saying that you could, because I Googled it, use like one of the covers on your iPad that makes your kind of like a more matte feel, I guess, like your screen, so it doesn't make as much a clicking noise, which people were like, okay, that's good. And they said it can feel more like paper. But then I discovered you can get these little like rubber caps that go on top of your pencil, and you can do that. That was, let's see, the little paper thing, the screen was between $10 and $30, depending which one you'd get. And then the little rubber thingies over your pen was like $6. So of course I was like, well, let me get these. And you get like a pack of 20 off Amazon. So I ordered that. Y'all, it works like a charm. I was like, the tapping has gone away. I can now take notes and it doesn't make a sound, you guys. And I love it. Now, that being said, when I'm trying to take notes, the precision of the pen on the iPad isn't near the same. It's similar, but I'm like, oh my goodness, my handwriting is so messy on this iPad, on this note taker. But then I found another app called Good Notes. And I'm sure you've heard of it. My husband had heard of it. I was like, I discovered this thing called Good Notes. And he's like, yeah, I already had that. I was like, well, okay. This one, you have a limited number of notebooks you can create. You can create 3, whereas I think free notes, you get unlimited. I'm not sure. I haven't explored it, but it seemed like that was the difference. But on this one, you can have 3 notebooks. And to me, it felt as though the precision of the pen was so much nicer. You didn't have near as many options. For example, in free notes, you could do like an ink pen, in the sense of like the ink, like old school ink pen versus the ballpoint pen, if that can make sense, like the kind of ink pen that would leave like a swirl or something. Or you could have a ballpoint pen or a pencil or things like that. You had a lot of options. You could choose the thickness within like percentages of how thick you wanted. So there's a lot more flexibility and options with the free note, but it felt less precise. Whereas with Good Notes, you didn't have as many options. You had like 3 different size of thickness. You had maybe 3 options of pens. And this is, of course, the free version. So maybe if I got premium or something, there would be more. But the precision was there. And so I think I've decided to stick with Good Notes, but I still have the free notes. I have them both because in free notes, you can also add pictures. Like you can take a picture, or you can look up a picture and include it in your note. It's wild. It was so cool. And I don't know, it just felt really cool. You had a lot of options. You could add like a Post-it note, which you can do that in Good Notes. I haven't figured out how to add pictures in Good Notes to, like, oh, let me take a picture of this while I'm talking about it and just stick it in the middle of my notes. Have not figured that out, but you can do that with free notes. So I'm just giving a shout out to those 2 apps. Obviously not sponsored in any way, but I've enjoyed those this last week, and I have found that it helps me to kind of wind down at the end of the day. So I've been trying to go to bed earlier, because I've been going to bed late, super late, just staying up, and because my mind still races a lot at night. And so I have been able to because I still want to be doing something, I've been enjoying playing around on this notes app, and I've just been doing the notes app, like just writing things, drawing things, figuring it out. And it does help wind down my brain while having me still feel like I'm doing something. So I've definitely enjoyed that. Another app, I guess this is my app segment that I've been kind of enjoying and doing lately is called Daylio, Daylio. And it's like this daily mood tracker where you put in, your mood, and it goes from like, I think it's 5 options, and you might be able to create more. It's very, what's the word I'm looking for, where you can kind of customize. There we go. It's very customizable, but you can put your mood in, and then you can type notes about how your day went, and you can write, how eating, like you can click these pictures for like, was eating good today? Were you able to do any of your hobbies? Were you able to have any self-care? Were you able to grow spiritually in any way? Like it's a cute little quick thing. And I started this little mood tracker thing because I had a really rough day one day, and I felt like I couldn't shake it. And it was the next day, and I was still like, like I couldn't shake the day before. And I just knew, like, it wasn't anything that, I guess that it wasn't anything I needed to worry about per se, but it was just occupying my mind. And I was like, I need to get this out of my head and down somewhere. But I wanted to validate my feelings because they were very real, but I was like, but I got to get this out. And so I was like, I think I have this app on my phone, which I did. And so I was able to put in my mood that day, which was like, and then put in all the different things that made it that way. And it really helped. And then what I found interesting was that of the 5 options, it was like the lowest is like, oh my goodness, like red. And then the second one from that was orange. Had I originally thought, I would have been like, this is such a red day. But when I took the moment to think about, okay, how bad was this day? I ended up not ranking it as low because I'm like, oh, I've had worse days. Like, I've had some really bad days. And so if this day, while it is bad, it isn't that bad. And I ranked it higher than how I originally felt. So I liked the idea of like, okay, this putting it down, I would say on paper, but it's not paper, but putting it down kind of helped me look at it in a sense of like, okay, yeah, it was a bad day, but it's one day. And it definitely is not your worst day. And so it kind of helped. And then the next day it was still kind of like a little day. And so I put that in, but then my day, got a little better and it became more meh. Right. And then I had like a good day here and there. And so it's just a kind of a fun way to kind of, like I said, just kind of track my emotions or track how I am categorizing my days. Right. Because we can, in the same day, feel every emotion there is out there. But I'm like, but overall, like, what would I say that it is? And then I'm like, okay, for this whole week, because it'll show you your whole week. I'm like, okay, so if I had to rank this whole week, how was it? And then because it'll tell you like on your good days, these are the things you did on your good days. So these are the days that maybe you prayed or you spent time with your family, or maybe you ate that snack, or maybe you actually exercised, or you watched what you ate. Like, it can help you kind of keep track of that. Or did you notice that on this bad day, all you did was play on your phone all day? Or on this good day, you did play on your phone, but you also did it's just a cute little app, y'all, that I've been using just really to just monitor and track my emotions. And so I thought I'd throw it out there if anybody was kind of looking for an app just to play with. I don't do it every day, but when I remember to do it, I like to do it. And it's just like I said, another one of those wind down things kind of at the end of the day that helps get some of the thought processes in my head and kind of get it out of my head so that I can rest a little bit. So I wanted to throw that out there. If you're looking for any type of app tracker or mood tracker, that one's a nice free one. And one more thing, kind of connected to this, just because I guess when I was writing my notes, I was doing those things that help me wind down. There's a podcast that I have been following for like a couple years, but I haven't listened to a single podcast, like episode of it. The reason I was following it was because I think I think you guys, I don't even know how honestly, I have no idea how I got started on this. I think I saw a clip maybe somewhere on Instagram. It's a Pentecostal podcast. It's called Noteworthy by Nathan French. And I know he's married to, what's his wife's name? I know it, Nathan and Rachel. And they create music. And maybe there was a song I liked of theirs, and then I realized he had a podcast, but I'd never listened to an episode. I just hadn't. I don't know why, but I've, had it, and I've subscribed forever. I just never listened to it. So I decided to listen to one. I don't know what made me click on it, but I did. And he was talking about fasting. I had mentioned this fasting, I think my last episode. I've been thinking about it, here and there. And so I decided to listen to it. And you guys, so his voice, I wrote down, his voice slows me down because he talks the opposite of me. I'm so sorry. Like I try to start every episode like chill, like, hey guys, what's up? Hey guys, welcome back. Something about Tuesdays. And then I get all excited and the next thing I know I'm talking like 20 miles an hour. But so he talks, let me show you. So he'll say something like this, and he'll continue to make his point. And I almost couldn't listen because I was like, this is taking entirely too long. But I held on long enough, and I really liked what he had to say. And he kind of has a calming voice, a different voice, but at least the one that I listened to, very like calming. And I was like, this is a good one to go to sleep to. Not that I went to sleep. I honestly actually listened to the whole thing, which I think was 45 minutes. I think his episodes are between 30 to 45 minutes, maybe an hour if he has a guest. But I think this one was 40 minutes, and I actually ended up listening to the entire thing, even though it was slow and stuff. But like I said, it was at the end of the day. I was trying to get my brain to kind of calm down, and just his slow talking, and just, you could tell he's like a nice person, like just very kind. He had, threw some humor in there, said a couple things, but just kept going and was encouraging, right? And he talked like that, and it was just like, I could listen to this. This is soothing. This could help me relax my brain and sleep. And so if you need someone who is just polite and kind and encouraging, has good things to say, but very chill and calm, and can help you maybe relax your brain and get in a good place to go to sleep, then I suggest the Noteworthy podcast with Nathan French. Yep. So that's just something that I thought I'd throw out there. Okay, guys, so I just have a couple more things that I want to say, and then I will go into kind of my my wrapping up 2024 thoughts. So that'll tie into like my journey, my whole journey to having a kid thing, and wrapping up what this year has been for me overall, which you guys know a big chunk of it. You know the last half, but just kind of, I guess, an overall summary and kind of stating kind of where I am right now. So that'll come here in a little bit, but I just have a couple more things to add. And that is, I went to the dentist again. Y'all are like, really? Yeah. Well, this time I had to go to get remember last time I went because my tooth was hurting and I thought I was going to get my tooth filled. And this time though, it was for the crown, which y'all, I think dentists are playing a game, because I go there and he's like, you might need a root canal. We're going to try this crown, but you might need excuse me, sir. A month and a half ago, you told me I needed a crown. If I needed a root canal, then why didn't you tell me then, please? Because not only do I have to come here and pay for this crown and then take off work and then have to come back in a few more weeks when you actually get the actual crown itself, because this was a temporary one, and got to come back again and do that again. You're trying to say that this may not even be a good fix? Like I might need a root canal? You couldn't say that 2 months ago, a month and a half ago. Anywho, I'm not mad at dentists in general. I just don't know about that practice. But maybe, I don't know. I got my little temporary crown in right now, and it seems to be fine. So hopefully I don't need a root canal. But at the same time, I'm like, oh, I mean, it was very sensitive. So we'll have to see. But anyway, so I got numbed. And it's always humorous when you get numb. Yeah. And it's funny when it first starts to happen, because you're sitting there and the next thing you know, at least for me, a little spit starts pulling, right? A little drill starts pulling. I'm like having to wipe the side of my mouth, and I'm like, oh my goodness. And here it begins. And my mouth was numb. It was quite numb. I had my appointment at like 2, And by the time I got to church, y'all, it was still like, when I smiled, it was crooked, one of those. I could talk, but like barely. And it didn't, I think, clear up until like 9 o'clock, y'all. I was like, how much numbing stuff did y'all put in there? But yeah, so they did that. And so I tried to put on chapstick. When you're numb, I guess I forgot I was numb, and I tried to put on chapstick. You don't realize how much you actually use your mouth, your lips to do the chapstick. Like, I was just thinking, okay, I'm gonna use my hand. I'm gonna just put it on. But you kind of use your mouth to push on the chapstick. Like, try it and see what I'm talking about. Because when your mouth is numb, you realize, oh, I can't do that. And I tried to put chapstick on, and it was the funniest feeling thing. I was like, oh no, like I didn't even realize that my mouth, like I required this part, my mouth, for this. Same for when you're like drinking out of a straw. You think you can do it, and then you're like, oh, I actually need my lips for this. So yeah, so that was the dentist. I have to go back again to actually get the full crown on. Hopefully that will go well. But yes, that was just a quick dentist trip. But the other thing I wanted to throw out there was I talked about the gym last episode and how weak I was. Guess what, you guys? I think I'm growing. I'm doing better. So normally I work out with 3-pound weights when I do the strength training class. Well, this last couple of times I worked out, I've used the 5-pound weights and the 8-pound weights. I know. I told my husband that, and he was like, I don't know that I would share that with people. Like, I don't know that that's an accomplishment. I was like, no, it is. It is. For anyone who's ever worked out and done those little like workout videos with the weights, and they tell you like 3 to 5 pounds, right? And so I was like, I did 5 to 8 pounds. Like, I used the 8-pound weight, and then when my arms got tired, I used the 5-pound, which is, I would say, a vast improvement from my 3 pounds. So gym stuff is still going well, still working out, trying to do my best to get fit and stuff like that. And so I thought I would just throw that out there that, hey, baby steps can get you there. I'm up to the 8-pound weight. I don't know that I can ever do like the 10 or 12, because there are some girls in that class who can like do the 10 or 12. I mean, they're doing their little bicep curls and I'm like, I'm struggling with the 8. Oh, or even like the little fly things, like when you're standing and you're bent over, but you have to lift your arms out to the side. That one I do have to use like my 5-pound weights. The 8, my little arms shaking, can't move, get them up. They can barely go up with the 5-pound weights, okay? So those are hard, but this one girl, she had them 12-pound weights and she was getting it. And I was like, okay, all right then. Okay, I can get there. And I will say this, that ever since using the 8-pound weights, my back has still been killing me, like probably from moving my furniture almost a month ago, and now trying to do this 8-pound weight, thinking I've gotten strong, when really my body's like, I don't know that we were ready for that. So yeah, so my back has been hurting. It has. And, I'm going to try to go get a massage to help with that. But I would like to say that I am quite proud that I've been able to move to the 5 and 8-pound weights. Okay. All right. So the last thing I want to share just for this, just from a regular style of episode, is that, and it's a good thing because it's a God thing. And that is, I love how we can rest in the fact that God knows everything. And I say that because within these last couple of weeks, I got some news that just shocked me. I mean, for me, it came out of nowhere, and it kind of rocked my world in some ways. Just my perspective, just like, what? Like, I was just very, very surprised, and I was like, I don't even know how to process this. And so, so of course you got to pray about it. I'm like, God, what is this? I don't even know what's going on. Like I can't deal with this. And then I was able to rest in that, though I was surprised and shocked and just kind of reeling, God wasn't. And nothing, while I had no idea this was coming, God has known from the beginning. And in my brain, I was like, okay, if God can roll with it, because he knew it was coming, then I can roll with it. And I was like, okay, so God knows, and he's doing what he needs to do. So that means I can roll with it. I can be okay. And I will pray about it, and I will pray over the situation, knowing that God will do what he can do, and that I just have to trust him, right, with that. And it was comforting to kind of be like, okay, I had no idea that this was coming, but you did. And you know what to do with it, right? And talking about you being God, And so I took comfort in that. And so that I'm just throwing that out there for you. If anything in these last couple weeks just kind of sent you reeling, like, what? That kind of response, like, what is this? Where is this coming from? What? Again. Then know that God wasn't surprised. And because he wasn't surprised, he's had a plan from the beginning. I mean, and that's the whole idea of salvation, right? Like, he knew from the beginning we would need to be saved. So he created a plan from the beginning to address what would happen in the future, right? So those things that surprise us now, God has known about, and he has a plan that will unfold now or in the future regarding whatever that situation is, right? And so I'm kind of like, okay, God, I'm trying to trust you in this. While I don't know what to do, you certainly do, and I can trust in that. And so, like I said, if you're going through anything like that, any type of situation that you just weren't expecting, know that God's not surprised and he has a plan for it. Even if you're not sure of your next step, he's very sure of his. And so just give it to him, trust him, and it'll be okay. God will work it out, right? If God can roll with it, you can roll with it. So yeah. So that's all I'm going to throw out here for this first half. Thank you all so much for listening. If you're finished, if you're like, I didn't want to keep up with the journey part, but just wanted the regular episode, thank you for listening and for tuning in this year. I cannot believe this is the last episode of the year. You guys, wow, here we are. But I'm ready. I'm ready for a new year. I'm ready for 2025. The next episode will be coming out in 2025. Oh my, I was just reminded today, not to go off topic, that I graduated from high school, 17 years ago. Is that what we figured out? I graduated in 2007. And all I know is I wasn't ready to hear that it was almost 2 decades ago. And y'all know that I am working on accepting getting older. I really am. I am. But just sometimes things surprise me. Sometimes it takes me back. Just how much time has passed since high school. But anyway, so I just said that to say that I can't believe we're here at the end of 2024, about to enter 2025, and I'm ready for it. I'm like, let's go, let's do this. But thank you all so much for listening. If you haven't had a chance, feel free to hit me up on Instagram, leave a 5-star review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. I did get my Spotify Wrapped thing for the podcast, and was able to see that I was #1 podcast for this many people and top 3 for this many people and this many new listeners and things like that. And that's always so much fun. So thank you all. Thank you again so much for listening this year, for tuning in, for hanging with me through a changing season, through, some interesting and good times and rough times. I appreciate your support through your listens. You guys are amazing. So yeah, if you're hanging on for the next little bit, I'll catch y'all in a couple seconds. But if not, then I will see you next year. Hey guys, okay, welcome back. So I'm going to kind of wrap up this year, 2024, but in the context of the journey of this, my journey towards growing my family, which really is just in my podcast notes. In my notes, I have a separate folder called The Journey, because, and in it, that's where I put all my specific notes related to, the specific aspect of my life of, trying to grow a family. But I definitely think this journey is more than that. And I think I might go into that as well as to where that is. But let me go ahead and throw out there all of my trigger warnings or things like that. So this 2024 was another one of those kind of sad years, like 2021, 2022. So if you are someone who's like, I am not in the mindset to hear this right now, feel free to either come back to it later or not to come back at all. It is perfectly okay. And I always want to throw out there that, again, these are just, they're very real thoughts of mine, things that I've written down just to kind of just show where I am and where I've been. But again, this is simply related to me and my outlook and my perspective of it all. If you have gone through something similar or not, you can, I always say, take take from this what you will and leave what doesn't resonate with you or doesn't connect with you. Okay. Those are my kind of two things that I want to throw out there before I go into this year. So let's go ahead and kind of jump right into this. So I want to start with, I believe we'd left 2023 semi-optimistic. I think so. Going into it thinking, maybe God will do something. This is what God wants to do. Or just feeling like, okay, maybe I can lean into God a little bit, letting go of my expectations and not hopes, but, kind of trying to take a backseat a little more and let God do what he needs to do. So my first note that I have was from January. I wrote, I'm going to believe for the best until my best agrees with your best. Step by step, mile by mile, marker by marker, believing that one day my best will align with yours. Believing that if it hasn't happened yet, then it's because the best is still ahead of me. Back to the future, or back to the present, I should say. So that kind of relates to how I often like to plan how things go out. I had planned, when I wanted to have my children, it was like, okay, if I want to have them then, let me count back 9 months. That's how specific I was. And so I was like, okay, I think in my brain, I was like, my best had passed. My best was I'd have all my kids by the age of 30, or if not all of them, at least 1 or 2. And here I am, 30. Let me see, how was I? 34. And, so obviously what I think is best is not the best. So I will keep going until our best align, until my will aligns with yours, essentially is what I was trying to say. And then I had this little note at the end of January. I mean, two sentences long. It says, my husband said he wanted to read the Little House on the Prairie books to our kids. Little heart smiley face. And I just thought that was sweet. I always, back to present, thought that I always liked when my husband mentioned, our future kids, because that was like, okay, we're on the same page. Like, obviously we're on the same page, but he's got hope too, right? Like, he hasn't given up on this either, because all I have is my perspective on this journey and how it's impacted me. But I'm sure my husband has his own thoughts and things and perspectives on it, which are vastly different than mine, similar in some ways, but I'm sure vastly different. And so I just liked when I could hear those hopeful words from my husband as well. All right. So this next entry, I'll go ahead and say that I wrote it because I was like, okay, God, I have questions. And I believe that if you ask God questions, he will answer them. But I was like, okay, I think there are some questions God doesn't answer, like when. Yep, he doesn't like to answer when, and he doesn't always like to answer why, at least not right away, right? Some things I think we just have to live out. And so I had written this in February. God, you answer my questions. You respond to my thoughts. You are listening. Let's say I can't ask when or why questions. What would I ask? How? You probably won't answer that one either. So here are my other questions. What are you going to do? Who am I? Who are you? Where are you? Where am I? Where do I go from here? What do I believe? What do I pray for? What do I do? Who else is here? Who else can help me? Who else can I help? And so that was what I had written, just questions like, okay, if God doesn't want to ask or doesn't want to answer when or how or, why, then maybe he'll answer like, okay, the who, who's around me that I can help, or who's around me, or, who is around who can help me, or even the what, like, what should I be doing? Should I be being still? Should I be active in this way? Should I be reaching out for this? And so I was kind of like exploring that and seeing, what God was thinking about that. So then a couple more months passed. It's now April. And I wrote this. In the journey of the lack of fertility, there are many different markers. Those things that are like the reminders. One of those for me is Ladies' Conference. Every year it passes, I'm reminded that it's another year that I've been on this journey. And that was it. That was the end. And that Ladies' Conference always felt significant to me because there were a few key times around ladies conference where I had high hopes of being pregnant, and then on ladies conference I wouldn't be, or I would go to ladies conference and leave with so much hope and faith, and it just wouldn't happen. And so that was one of those markers for me. If you've ever gone through honestly any kind of trauma or journey or something, then there are those things that just remind you of things. And that was one of those things that reminded me, I am still here. Another year has passed and I am still here. Oh my, and that was kind of one of those things. All right. So this next entry I had written was in June, so a couple months later. We're getting through 2024 pretty quick. And I had written this. This was after a message that was preached to us by my pastor's son, talking about it wasn't our job to get ourselves out of Egypt. And so this was kind of like my reflection after hearing that message. So in June, when I couldn't think, when it was too much, overwhelming, it was too much to sort out, a myriad of emotions were ranging, I could praise. I didn't think he wanted it or even that I deserved to give it, but I did, because even if I'm dirty, he deserves the praise from everything that has breath. And maybe through praising him, he will bring me out. He'll give me direction. He'll give me peace. It's not my job to get myself out of Egypt. It's my job to praise and build the altar. And God will lead me out of Egypt. And so I was feeling very overwhelmed by decisions that were having to be made related to fertility and fertility treatments and things. And I had a rage of emotions, and I wasn't sure what I wanted to do and how things should go. And I was like, I don't know how to get myself out of this. I don't know how to get out of this journey. Again, I've been trying to have a kid for years now. I'm ready to be done. This is a situation that I'm ready to be out of. And I was running out of ideas and solutions and things to try. And that message kind of just made me think, okay, all right, I can give this to God and trust that he'll get me out. I just have to praise him, even though I feel like, oh my goodness, if I had more faith, right? If I believed more, then I wouldn't feel this overwhelmed. If I was just a little bit stronger spiritually, then this wouldn't feel like it would overtake me. And that's where I was. And so I was like, okay, even though I don't feel good enough, you don't have to be that good to praise God. You just have to have breath. That's all you need. The rocks will cry out, right? And so I was like, I'll praise God and trust him for the rest. So then, not much longer after that, I wrote, "Are you there? It's me, your mama." And this was when I was thinking that, hey, things could be happening. Not much longer after that, about a month or so later, I wrote this. "Hey, P, I found out you were officially with me today. Woohoo! I can't believe we're finally here. It seems so right. Like it was simply meant to be. Here's the people who know you're here right now. Me, your dad, your grandma and grandpa, your aunties, Bethany, Emily, Jessica, Kiki, and your uncles and aunt on your dad's side, Auntie Casey, Uncle Telly, Justin, and Eric. Tomorrow, I will tell your sister in person, and then I'll tell other important people from our church. Now, you've only been in my belly for a few days, but I love you already. See you in about 9 months. Hey, you got another sibling in there? That'd be pretty cool." So that was that. And yeah. So I had just found out, officially that I was pregnant and was excited and had told a few people at this point, but was, looking forward to the rest. So a few months had passed. I had gotten to the point where I was now in my, this was 12 or 13 weeks in. So this was my next few entries. I was writing different ways to try to tell everybody. So at this point I had told all my close people that I was pregnant. And so now I was ready to tell the world, right? I was ready to let it all out. I had made it through the first trimester. I had faith that I would make it the rest of the way. And so this would be my first time ever publicly addressing the fact that I've been on this kind of journey and that God had saw me to the end of it. And so I was trying to come up with different ways of how to write it. I knew I was going to post it on Facebook, but I was like, I don't know what to write. Like, do I throw out everything? Like, this is all I've been through and this is where we are, or do I just keep it simple? And so I was writing different things. So you're going to hear some things that are repeated because I was trying to come up with the perfect kind of thing to write. But you're also going to hear my thought processes throughout that. And so that's why I'm sharing it. So this was in September. And the first thing I wrote, again, trying to figure out how I wanted to tell people, all the next few will be me kind of trying out post ideas, like what I want my post to say, or just my own general thoughts on what to share. All right, September. For the last 7 years, I wondered how I would make this post. Would I share this post? At varied moments throughout these past 7 years, I've wondered what this post would look like. I've wondered if I'd ever even have a post like this, and when I'd have a post like this. It's been a wait, a season of waiting. But then God said now. So here we are. I don't know what to say other than, thank you, God, for getting us here. I have questions that may forever go unanswered, but I do know one thing. He has turned my mourning into dancing. Psalm 113:9 in 1 Samuel 2. Can I set down 7 years of pain for a lifetime of joy? It's definitely been a season full of so much emotion. As a person who prides herself in not getting too emotional or remaining level-headed, I've had the most intense moments of feeling with God these past 7 years. When it came to this season, I could say that this area of my life was filled with ups and downs, but I would emphasize the downs. My heart hurt in ways I never hoped to experience, and at times my spirit felt broken beyond fixing. The ups and downs occurred more at the beginning of the waiting season, but by the middle to the end, it stayed mostly down. By that point, ups felt dangerous because I knew the higher I went, the harder I'd fall. The more hope I had, the more despair I would feel once the hope was shattered. Sadness was always lurking in the back of my mind. There were definitely things in my life that were going amazingly well, so I could smile and laugh and enjoy. But I always knew there was at least one area in my life where I was barren or empty, and that left a huge gap that simply filled with sadness and anger. At times I could manage it, put it to the side, understand its purpose, and move on. But at times, it just wouldn't let me. It demanded to be seen. So I would just cry, or my countenance would change. Close friends would notice these times. Close friends helped me get through those times. I don't want this post to be full of sadness, as it's actually a joyful one, but I'm not going to whitewash the pain that I felt before getting here. It was too real. Will I look back and say it was worth it? Probably. But will I ever forget it? No. And I don't think I want to. I want my pain to have meaning, and for that, it can't just be shoved under the rug because I know that I am now blessed with what I've longed for so long. I am now on the journey toward joy, after living in a season or a space of pain. For some, it may be easy to jump right out of, but for others, we have to drag our broken spirits, hearts, and minds into this place of beauty and peace. I'm so grateful for where I am now, for how God is blessing me now, but I also mourn for what it's taken to get here. It's the palm and the willow, so I'll praise God with all of me. Pain doesn't mean that God doesn't love you. Pain doesn't mean that you're not right with Him. And pain doesn't mean that life isn't good. Just as joy doesn't mean that life is perfect, joy doesn't mean that there isn't pain. God is found in both. I may have been sad these past 7 years, but God was there and I was never alone. I still feel like I've lost time. I still feel like I've missed out on things, and I still feel behind. But God's been good. Before I even knew what was coming, God was good. When I realized I was about to face one of the hardest seasons of my life, God was good. In the middle of that sad season, when I felt the lowest I had ever been, God was good. When there appeared to be light on the horizon, God was good. When it seems like I'm now entering a new season, God is good. During painful conversations, God's been good. During tear-filled nights, God's been good. During failed treatments, God's been good. During one successful treatment, God's been good. God is good all the time. And so that was back to present. I had started that as far as thinking about how will I start this post. And then as I was writing it, I was starting to get some of my emotions and my feelings out and thinking like, I can't believe I'm here. It's so hard to transition. In my brain, I was like, it's hard to transition these years of feeling the ups and the downs and the sadness and the joys and the disappointments and the things to now like, this is the end. I was like, I'm here. I'm now entering a new season. I'm finally getting what I've prayed for and I'm happy, but I'm also overwhelmed. And I was just kind of like, what do I do with this? And so that was that attempt at a post. Here's another attempt I had. It feels surreal to write this. I debated at keeping it simple or going into the depths of my testimony. I hope that maybe what I write is somewhere in between. 11 years ago, I married the man of my dreams. You know, the one you could write about in your diary or daydream about in quiet moments. Yep, him. We spent the first few years of marriage getting to know each other more and growing our personal, professional, and spiritual lives. And 4 years in, we decided to grow our family. It was going to be perfect until it wasn't. Time had passed and things weren't happening as we had hoped. But hope wasn't lost. We visited doctors, had things checked out, procedures done, and we again endeavored to grow our family. But then again, it wasn't working. So more doctor's appointments, more specialists, more unknowns. And then, after 5 years, we were told that whatever the issue, our chances of having children on our own were less than 2%. Then, to be followed up by another doctor's appointment to say that it was less than that. So devastated, I let go of hope that day. And that's all I wrote. I don't know why I ended there. I don't know if I sent myself into a spiral. I don't know if I decided, you know what, that's a little too real for everyone to know. But I stopped there and I said, that is not what I'm going to post. So I continued on. And this next post, I simply wrote, I don't know what to say, but God is good. And that's all I wrote. Okay. So then I came up with another post. This is all within a few days. How do I put into words where I am? This place where I long to be, but forever seemed out of reach? You could say my hubs and I are the 1 in 4. The ones whom growing a family didn't come so easy, not even close. But here we are. 7 years of effort, but here we are. Endless nights of tears and sadness and disappointment. It still feels surreal. It doesn't seem true. But I'm here, and we're here. And all I can say is thank you, Jesus, for getting us here. Baby McGahey, due March 2025. But I thought that wasn't quite good enough. So I continued to write things. Here's my next attempt at a post. I've often wondered throughout the past 7 years if and when I'd make a post like this. Would it be wordy and extravagant or simple and concise? Would I even get a chance at all? I'm glad to say that after the ups and downs of this growing our family journey, the time is finally here. And then I stopped there. I was like, nope. Then I came up with a post that I wrote. If you've read my post on Facebook, you're gonna be like, it's starting to make sense. We're getting to the post we actually saw on Facebook. So I wrote this post. I often wondered throughout the past several years when or if I'd make a post like this. If so, how would I admit to people that the post would mean more to me than just an announcement? How would I let people know that the mere presence of the post is a testament of God's undeniable power, unfailing love, and unending patience, grace, and mercy? How would I say his word carried me when words from doctors kept bringing disappointment? How would I say he took on the intimate job of putting together the broken pieces of my heart when I thought it was shattered beyond repair? How would I say he was always there to hold me when I cried secret tears, or even when I cried the not-so-secret ones? How would I say he kept his promises, even when I wasn't sure the whisper I heard was even a direct promise from him? How would I, other than to say that these last 7 years of trying to grow a family, a season of desperation filled with moments of sadness, disappointment, and loss and barrenness, is being transformed into a season where the sun is starting to shine across the horizon, given hope of a future of promise, joy, laughter, and fullness. I just want to say God has done and is still doing something for me. You guys, I'm going to have a baby. P.S. How would I also say that the unexpected and overwhelming feeling of hope that's growing in me isn't solely tied to this fruition of the promise, but to Him. That the love I feel when reading over this post isn't just about my baby, but it flows from the reminder that through every moment in the past and in every moment to come, God was and is always with me. Phew, that's all I'm trying to say. Love you guys. Baby McGahey, due March 2025. And then back to present. I had continued to write on that post more that I ended up taking out, I believe. And this is what I'd written. I'm not saying God hasn't blessed me until now. He certainly has in many, many ways. But I am saying that God has carried me through the darkest of nights when all hope was shattered, and I felt no one could possibly put back together the millions of pieces I was broken into. I am saying that He heard my moaning laments in the night and my secret cries during the day and lifted me into His arms to find peace. I am saying that in the middle of uncertainty, doubt, fear, and pain, God had a plan all along. Then when my spirit couldn't fight anymore, God gave me permission to rest. How do I say He's still comforting me through every stage of fear and worry? I'm saying that God keeps His promises, even when you're not sure the whisper you heard was even a promise. Psalm 113:9, He maketh the barren woman to keep house and to be a joyful mother of children. So I'm simply saying this. If it wasn't for the Lord, I wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be here. So that was kind of a big post, or what I'd written, and then I narrowed that down and made my actual post. And if you've been following along on the journey, you'll hear different pieces of that have been part of my journey. For example, when I talk about being broken into a million pieces, you might remember that I'd mentioned that and feeling that, okay, I'm broken in a million pieces, but that must mean God has to put me back together. You'll hear about where I had written about feeling like the sun is coming on the horizon. That connects to the, in 2023 when I had thought about, okay, being that warrior princess and that sun coming over the horizon, feeling that kind of glimpse of hope. And so bits of pieces of the journey I did throw in there, but I narrowed it down even more to make my post that I ended up posting, which is kind of just that first part of that. And I posted that at, I think I was 14 weeks pregnant. And then at 17 weeks, I had my baby. And after that, a few days after that, so this is October now, I had written, Lord, I'm scared. I don't know how I'll get through this. How do I go back? How do I go forward? And that's all I'd written. So at this point, I already lost my baby, and I'm trying to figure out, where do I go from here? A few days after that, I wrote, I'm patching the holes of grief. It'll spring, and I'll use reason or logic or something to patch it, but sometimes it's just overwhelming. So if you can visualize with me, let's say I'm on a boat, and then whoop, there's a hole, and that's grief coming through. I'm trying to suppress it. So then I use logic or some other way to just be like, oh, it's fine, and I try to push that down, and then another spring, and then next thing I know, I run out of ways to try to patch the waves of grief, and then it just overwhelms me. And that's kind of my thought process there. I had written towards a few days after that, y'all, I write to process. Nighttime is the hardest, when everyone else has gone to bed, but my mind can't rest. So I'm up with my thoughts. Eating is hard too, and I don't know why. And so I'd written that because those were the two times I struggled the most with thinking about things and feeling the sadness, the grief felt presented through sadness in those ways. I did have the moment. I guess I have to admit it. I had a moment. I wrote this down end of October. You know how sometimes I feel ashamed to admit this, even though it was very real. But I had written this. I said, I've learned not to be excited until it actually gets here. And so that was just a moment of sadness. That's where I was. And that's just how I felt. And that was I'd written that in October. And since then, I haven't written a whole lot because a lot of what I've been through, I have been processing through with the podcast as well. And so that was kind of like my last official writing from that. And being somewhat caught up with the podcast, but in reflecting kind of where I am. So it's been 2.5 months since I lost my girl, and it still feels very surreal. It doesn't feel like a lot of time to me. Perhaps for other people, it's like, wow, it's almost been 3 months. But for me, I'm like, it's only been 2.5 months. And one of the things that I've written down kind of in reflecting on this, towards the end of this, is how long am I allowed to grieve a child that is born at 17 weeks? How long am I allowed to grieve a baby weighing less than a pound? And is this something that I should be getting over quicker than expected, or quicker than I thought? Is this something that within a few months I should already be past? And I don't think that's the case. People, I will be the one to tell you, take grief as long as you need. And that goes through my mind sometimes when I get sad. And I think, should I still be sad? Or when I think, I don't know that I want to go do this thing. I don't know that I want to celebrate right now. I don't know that I want to feel happy. You would think naturally I want to feel happy, right? Everybody wants to feel happy. But sometimes I'm like, I want to be sad. Is that okay to want to be sad over losing my child? And I understand some people, the perspective is, I think there's this idea that the earlier you lose a child, the less it should hurt, through miscarriage or even what they term, chemical pregnancy. But my perspective is on it is that if you've ever lost a child, regardless if you knew for a day, that it hurts and that it can hurt for however long it needs. Because losing a child isn't just, you're not losing a thing. You're losing a life. You're losing a drastic change to what would have been in your life. You're losing a whole, those kind of, not to go sci-fi on you, but those kind of, those movies or those ideas that you're like, this happens, so this branches off and that's how your life could have been. But if this decision made, then that branches off and that's how your life could have been. When you lose a child, no matter at what point of life that they are in, that branches off. Like it's now different. Your life is vastly different than if that child would have remained alive, right? And so whether that is a child that's a few days old to a child that you've had for much longer, your life branches off from that. And so I can't, I don't know. I don't know how long, I'm supposed to grieve for a baby that was born at 17 weeks, for my baby, for my daughter. But I guess it'll be as long as I need to. I don't know how long people will give me the grace and the space to grieve. I definitely understand the perspective of, you don't want to stay in the sad part of grief. But I do think that's still part of it, and we have to give people the space to be sad. But another thought I had, and I did write this down, was that I don't think grief in and of itself isn't an emotion. I don't know how I would define it. Maybe a state of being, maybe a season, maybe like a space. I'm not really sure, because I think you can experience a lot of emotions within grief. Like I can be grieving, but feel grateful, for the time I had, or for the love that I feel, or, for those people who've been around me. I can experience grief and then be very sad and overwhelmed and frustrated. Or I can experience grief, but then have happy and excited moments or things that still bring me joy. So it's hard to kind of say that grief is just one thing, that it's just sadness, because it isn't. The whole grief is a process thing. I'm like, yeah, it is. And I wonder if grief is one of those things that ever leaves you, or maybe it does, but somehow it forever impacts you. Like, I don't know. I haven't thought about it, enough to come up with my own theory and to weigh it out against what I've known about other people who've experienced grief or things like that. I'm figuring it out as I go through this, because grief, you can experience grief for a loss of anything, loss of a spouse, and not just through death, but through any means, a loss of career, loss of a dream. Like, that's where grief can come in, through a loss of a dream, like of an idea, of a hope. It's interesting. And so anyway, not trying to go into all that, but at the same time, reflecting on all of that, that's things that I've thought about. And one thing that I thought about too was that, I was reading somewhere, because I end up on things, and I think it was on Instagram, and somebody had made a post, and she had just written, "I feel empty." And I was like, oh, that's a good description for someone who's ever lost a child, like through, I would probably say at any point, honestly, but specifically through a type of miscarriage or some type of preterm delivery or something like that. Then it's like you were literally, you had a baby, and then now you have a womb that's empty, and you're just empty without a baby to show for it, without the love and getting to hold that. And I even think sometimes even pregnant mamas who have their babies feel that emptiness when the baby's out of them. I don't know, because I haven't been there, but maybe, that kind of, my stomach is empty, and so, though they have their babies, but like it is an emptiness that you feel, and that was a lot of how I characterized even going through this journey. I characterize it as emptiness, barrenness. I just feel like that part of me is empty. This part of my life is empty, and so, kind of being thrown into emptiness when you thought, oh, for a minute my arms are be full. It's definitely something that takes getting used to. It's not getting used to, but that takes processing and takes prayer and takes friendship and family, definitely. But I want to say, so in my reflection of the year and of everything that I go to, I would say I wrote down this journey. It's not about getting a baby, I don't think. I mean, I want one, more than one, but it's not all for that. Like, when this next baby comes, whenever it is, my journey's not over. Maybe this specific season, this long and hard season, but my story, this journey, what I have learned, what I have left to learn, how I've grown, how I have left to grow, my hardships and my blessings, my fears and my hopes, those aren't over. So maybe, just maybe, all of this is just equipping me for the continued stories and journeys ahead. Maybe all of this is simply part of who I am, part of what's shaping me, and part of this journey that ultimately will simply be my life. So I wrote that, just like I said, in reflecting. This isn't the end of my journey. This is, I guess we're in the middle of it still. So much of this part of my life, like I said, this is just a part. I have so many other things that make up my life. I've got my career, and I've done a lot of things in that. I've got my husband, and we've done a lot of things together. I've got my family, and we've been through a lot together in positive, good ways. This is just one aspect of my life, one aspect that has greatly influenced who I am and my perspective and a lot of my spiritual walk. And I do think that even if I do end up having a baby, hopefully soon, in the next year or two or whenever, hopefully, God. But hopefully, if I get to that point and God does bless us with children, it wouldn't be the end of my journey. Like, when I thought about sharing all of this, like I said, I was going to share it. And you could, if you go back to the episodes where I would at first told everyone on the podcast that I was going to have a baby, and I kind of alluded to, I had to do the fact that I might be sharing my journey. It was because I thought I was at the end. I was like, oh, I'm going to tell them, like, I've made it. This is what I went through, and I am here at the end, and here we are, and God can see you through, and it's okay. And And the only thing I can say right now is that this is not the end of my journey. But I think that even when I do have children, that's not the end of this journey. Not to say that there's more hardships and things that are just going to like, blah, that are going to make all the ups and downs and stuff. But to say that my life doesn't end there. My walk with God doesn't end there. I certainly hope that this aspect of my life, as far as having children, I hope that part ends, that I get the children and we can do that. But then I hope a whole nother chapter begins, a whole nother journey begins. And do I want it to be as hard as this one? No, I definitely don't. But I don't know what life has for me, right? I don't know what other things that I'm going to go through or what other journeys I'm going to experience, or, this one is my journey towards growing a family, but after that, what will my next one be? I don't know. Will I have those sad moments? Will I have those moments where I feel broken? Maybe, probably, but I guess the things that have equipped me and helped me along so far will do the same. And so can I say that I look forward to the next journey? Because I don't know what that next journey is, and I don't know what it's going to bring, right? But can I say that I do think God will see me through, and that I do think God will have those moments of joy and those seasons of joy and those seasons of being on the mountain? Do I think that's coming to? Yeah, I would say so. I do believe in that. And I mean, we'll have to wait and see, right? I'll keep y'all posted. Y'all will be with me regardless. But I do think that God does have great things in store. I do think just as he's carried me to this point, he will continue to carry me, and just will continue to do so. Y'all know I will be real, and do I still get sad? Yeah. Do at times I lose hope? Yeah, I still do. Y'all, 7 years in and I still lose hope. Yeah. Do I still get frustrated with the process? I do. Do I feel like giving up? Yeah. Do I still get sarcastic? Most definitely, I do. Do I still cry and scream at God sometimes? I do. I most definitely do. But does God still show up? Yeah, he does. Does God still give me words of encouragement through other people and through his word? He definitely still does. Does God still give me moments that make me smile that I know are specific to me? Yeah, he does. Does God still find ways to get me to laugh and to smile? He does. Yeah. So, y'all, here we are. And I think that's just, it's here we are. We're here. God's here. And he'll get us through everything. He'll get me through everything. And so with cautious optimism, I'm entering the year 2025. I don't know what it'll bring. I don't know what joys I'll experience. I don't know what sadness I will experience. But I know a long time ago, I had written a post on Facebook, and I still believe it. And I had written it the new year, and I said, what's cool is that your greatest joy hasn't been lived yet. Like, as good as the good things have been in your life now, there is still coming a joy, a moment that'll surpass a joy that you have felt so far. And you might think, oh, but I've experienced some good things. Y'all, I went to Hawaii, okay? But guess what? I bet you there's still something even better than Hawaii coming, right? And you know what? I experienced the joy of finding out I was pregnant. And I experienced the joy of making it to my second trimester. But guess what? There's going to be another joy that comes that's going to be even greater than that one. And I look forward to that. And I want you to look forward to that too. And you might experience it in 2025. I think you're going to have some type of great joyous moment in 2025, definitely, and of course you're going to have some sad moments too, but that's okay. You're like, why'd you have to say that? Because I just know, because I can't, okay, real moment. I cannot One thing I've learned through this, if nothing else, and I don't even know if this is something I'm supposed to learn, but I can't be that person who's going to promise you that life is always going to be easy and good and gravy and wonderful, because it isn't. And that is so hard to hear. I remember being like 18 and hearing that at a youth rally or youth camp and being like, why are you telling me that life isn't always going to be good? I don't want to hear that. I know that. I don't want to hear it. But we're telling you that. I'm telling you that, not because I want you to be discouraged or look into the future and be like, oh, but to know, but to say with that, to say that your life is not always going to be good, but that's not the end. With that, the comma, life's not always going to be good, but God will always be with you. But God will see you through it. But God still has good things for you. But you will make it. You may not feel like you will make it, but with God, you will make it. And so you don't have to be scared of those things in the future, because when they come, God is with you, and God ain't scared of nobody, and he can handle all of it, including you. God can handle you and your emotions. He can deal with it, and he can see you through it. He knows exactly who you are. He knows exactly how you respond. He knows exactly how you act. So that means he knows exactly what to do to get you through whatever. You just got to let him. You got to invite him in and let him do it. So anyway, not trying to preach or teach or anything like that, but just saying that be encouraged, okay? God's with you, and that's one of the best things that we can offer. I cannot promise you a perfect life. I cannot promise you you'll always be happy, but I can promise you that God will always be with you. And when he's always there, there's always hope. There's always something you can look forward to. There's always something you can depend on, right? So that's my reflection on 2024. That is where I am. And I am literally preaching to myself. Okay, I said I wasn't preaching, but I'm preaching, and I'm preaching to myself. And if it encourages you along the way, yes. But if you're like, that's got nothing to do with me, leave it there. Leave it there for the next person, okay? So anywho, so that is where we are. That's where I am in 2024, entering into 2025. I'm not one of those to claim it as like, this is going to be my year. I did that maybe the first few years, and then I learned, okay, no, this is going to be God's year. Okay. Every year has been God's year. I just have to go along with him. And so I do look forward to 2025. I look forward to the things that God has for me. I don't know what they are. I hope one of them's a baby, but if not, I know he has other great things in store for me. And I know for those things, that empty space, that God will fill it. If he doesn't fill it with the baby, he'll fill it with himself in some way. And I have to trust and believe that, and I do. So anyway, thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you for being with me on this journey. My future episodes, probably this will be kind of like the last, I guess, continuation of the journey part. And then next year we'll just hit 2025. Just, hey, here we are. It'll be, back to regular episodes. I won't have the extended part at the end. And because I'll just be living life with you all at that point, right? Like we'll just be going through it together. And so that's all I've got for you. Thank you all so much for listening. If you've been one of those people who've listened to the journey aspect, of the episodes, like you continued, thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for caring enough about what I've gone through, what I've been through, to listen and to be encouraged, in turn to encourage me. I appreciate it. You guys are the absolute best. And it has blessed me. Being able to share this has blessed me, and I hope it's blessed you in some way. But if not, it's blessed me. So thank you all for listening, and I will catch y'all not just in a couple weeks, but I'll catch y'all next year. Yes, I did that corny joke. I know.